What's going on, DFS Army? Cash K coming at you here. Gonna do a showdown video for tomorrow's slate. I got a couple dumpster fires of the NFC East. Got the Giants against Philly. Got a lot of injuries in this game, so it's going to be interesting. I'll do both FanDuel and DraftKings. If you're not a part of DFS Army, head on over there. Sign up using promo code CashKeg. Save yourself 20% off. I'll show you a few tools that I use on the site that you'll get when you do sign up that really help you make your decisions. And we could dive in here, man. I think it's a fun slate, even though we have two bad teams. Someone's got to win. And let's go over some of the injury news first, because it's going to dictate some of these plays. We'll start on the Philly side. Zach Ertz isn't going to play. Didn't participate in practice on Tuesday. There's no way he's going to suit up. The other big one is Miles Sanders. There's no way he's going to suit up either. Those are big pieces. They should get Deshaun Jackson back, which should help them. Alshon Jeffrey, I'm not too sure on. I don't think he plays. He hasn't played all season. If he suits up, though, it does help that receiving core a bit, because they're going to need it with no Ertz. They really don't have anybody. I know Fulgham stepped up a little bit and got a ton of targets, but I think with Jackson back, even though he's in not the best matchup, he's extremely cheap on both sides. And if he plays, he's probably going to get a ton of targets. Other guys that are out, I think hurts him a little bit, is Jack Driscoll. I don't think he's going to play. But I think Lane Johnson is. So that does hurt their offensive line a little bit. But again, Deshaun Jackson back should help a little bit, and he is relatively cheap. On the Giants side, we might get back Shepard. He got activated off the IR on Tuesday. So if we get Shepard back, it is going to help that receiving core a little bit. We do have Slayton that's banged up a little bit with that foot, so it should help out Jones and those weapons. But that's the big news for the Giants. It's going to take the ceiling off Slayton if we do get Shepard back playing. So, and he's relatively cheap on both sides. So let's just jump in here on FanDuel and talk about both these, the way these lineups are going to come out. On FanDuel, again, you're just going the MVP. There's no adjustment of salary like there's on DraftKings. And on FanDuel, for me, I'm going to want one of these quarterbacks. They run a ton. If we come over here and look at our matchup tool that we have at DFS Army, you can kind of see here. Last week, Daniel Jones ran 27% of the snaps. Carson Wentz ran 28%. And I think it's going to be right there, if not even higher. Even for the season, they're right around 20% as well. So that's something that gives these guys a floor, but also gives them a ceiling. And I think that that's going to continue. I want to say Daniel Jones might even lead their team in rushing with no Barkley and how bad it's been. They've been extremely bad. So over here on FanDuel, for me, it's one of these two guys up at MVP. I think you can run either or. If I put Daniel Jones up there, first you save $1,000. Maybe we can that helps a little bit. But I think in your cash games and even tournaments, I'm going to be all over these two guys. On DraftKings, a little bit different. I like to put wide receivers, at the top, just because of how many targets they can get, and it'll help you out. So on DraftKings, a little bit different. But on FanDuel, it's definitely Jones or Wentz for me. Like I said, Sanders isn't going to play, so he's out of the equation. I think that's a little bit too much for Slayton. Again, if we get Shepard back, I think it's going to hurt his target rate. So 12.5, I think that's a little bit much. Again, Fulgham's going to be too expensive too if we both get Jackson, which I assume he's back, and then Alshon Jeffrey. If Alshon Jeffrey plays, I don't want hardly any of Fulgham. That's just way too expensive. If Jeffrey's out, then I don't mind playing some Fulgham, but that is pretty damn expensive. Come down here, Evan Ingram, no problem playing 10K there for him. Even if Shepard's back, they have some. If they get all their whole wide receiver core back, they can spread the ball around. What's up, RC Brennan? How you doing, man? But again, for Philly, man, it's rough. They have no Ertz, no Goddard. They're down to their where's he at for his trash tight end here for the Eagles. Where's he at? There he is. Richard Rodgers at 6,500. I think he's going to be pretty popular. He's basically going to be, they got 3 tight ends, but he's going to be the starting tight end for him. Saw some targets last week, even with Ertz going out. 3 targets, 31 yards. Boston Scott is going to be pure chalk. If you're playing cash games, you're probably starting your lineup with either one of the quarterbacks in the top, Boston Scott, and Wentz. That's how you're going to be starting your cash games next week. What's up, Zero? How you doing, man? And so, again, if you prefer Wentz or Jones, it doesn't really matter here on FanDuel. It's just whatever you prefer. But you're going to start most of your lineups this way. It's just there's no reason not to. And you're still left with, almost 12,000 each. So you can build about anything you want here on FanDuel with Boston Scott being 6,500. There's going to be so many duplicated lineups. So I don't know if I want to play a ton of volume on FanDuel when it comes to tournaments, or maybe if you usually play 150, maybe play just 50 lineups because there's going to be a ton of overlap, I think, for the winning lineup when you got Boston Scott that cheap. So, again, Devontae Freeman, if we want to look, and he's basically the starting running back here for the Giants. We come back over here and let's go to the new thing we have called the Research Lab. It kind of drills into a lot of data. Let's go over and go to the Giants here. And for rushing snaps, we can look at trends and whatnot, which is fantastic here. So if we look at Devontae Freeman, you can see his rush attempts by week. It's a nice chart to look at here. And you get this with DFS Army. Again, if you're not a member, head on over there, dfsarmy.com. Use promo code CashCake. It's a new tool that we just implemented. You can look at his percentage of snaps here, his trend lines up. From week 3, 4, 5, and 6. He's almost at 75% of the snaps last week. Had 18 rush attempts last week. Didn't do a whole lot with them. But what you can do here is you can come and do the drill down. You can go to his data and you can see his fantasy points here. So, slowly treatment up. Didn't have a great game against Washington. Didn't put up a ton of fantasy points, but I have no problem going back here. I know Philly's pretty tough against the run. You beat him in the past, but he's definitely trending up. Get some goal line carries. I don't mind him, but it's a really cool tool if you want to mess with things. If you want to pull up a few different guys here and see the difference between Daniel Jones and Freeman, you can see that the rush attempts for Daniel Jones 6 to 7, so he runs the ball a ton. But yeah, let's head back over here. If you don't want to play Freeman, like I said, I think in cash games a lot of people will. They usually play both quarterbacks, both running backs, and it leaves you 12-5. So you're going to get, if we get news on the wide receivers, I think you can, if you can play Slayton, you can play Fulgham, but we need some of these guys to stay out for them to be viable. Like I said, if Shepard is back, it's really going to be hard for me to play Slayton, especially with that foot. And then if Jeffrey is out, I think I have no problem playing Fulgham here at 12K. Again, don't have to spend the salary here. If you want to get different, no problem coming down here to Ingram and 10K. On FanDuel, you're going to leave salary on the table. It's just there's just a slate with so many injuries that you're not going to spend it all. So don't care if you think it's going to be a slugfest and you don't think Freeman's going to get you anything, and you want to run freaking both kickers and you think it's going to be a kicking duel and you leave 6,000. That's how you're going to win it if there's going to be a single win entry here. Because spending all the salary, most people in cash are going to do this, and then they're going to they like to spend all the salary. They're going to throw Slayton or Fulgham up here in cash games. I almost guarantee you that's what people are going to do in cash games. So in tournaments, don't be afraid to leave salary on the table here on FanDuel. Like Boston Scott just frees everything up. You can do anything you want to. He should get the bulk of the work. I know he's screwed some people in the past. He's also done well in the past in this spot. but he should get the bulk of the work. Let's head on over to DraftKings. Check DraftKings out a little bit. Again, Daniel Jones is 10-4 over here. Carson Wentz is 10-8. We were talking about how Deshaun Jackson is due back this game. Deshaun Jackson is, where is he at? He is 5,800. He is probably my favorite captain in tournaments. If Jeffries doesn't suit up and we get Jackson here, he should see a ton of targets. He can take the top off. You know, he can take him to the house. If he has a deep ball for a touchdown, you know, he can win you a GPP. Because if you throw him in there, we can throw Wentz and Jones in this lineup. Still got 6,700 left. No problem playing any of the kickers here. You know, Elliott or Gano. I think I probably slightly lean Graham Gano here. And then we have 82 left. So you're going to play like a Boston Scott, and you got 8,100 left where you have Ingram or Freeman here. Again, don't have to worry about spending all your salary. That's kind of how I see things going. You know, let's just say in cash games, you want to play, like I said, any of these quarterbacks can be up there, but let's say we put in Brandon Scott, or Boston Scott up there at 12.6. We still got 6,300 left. We threw a kicker in there. Again, if you threw both kickers in there, you have 8,800. You can get to Ingram or Fulgham there. You throw Freeman in this lineup. Still got 5,200 left. You can throw in a guy like Rodgers or one of the defenses. Something like that, I think, is a cash game approach. If we decide to spend up at quarterback, say we want Wentz as our captain, throw Boston Scott in there, throw Daniel Jones in there. You know, this is a great cash approach as well, taking one of the quarterbacks up top, especially if they're going to do a lot of running. You know, like I said, Daniel Jones actually probably leads the team. I'll have to look it up. I think he leads the team in rushing. They're just that bad. But in cash games, you want to be playing, you know, your quarterbacks and running backs. Kickers are always too cheap on DraftKings, so throw one of those guys in. But even here, you could throw both kickers in this lineup, both running backs, both quarterbacks, and it gives you a really good floor. It just depends on who you want at captain. To find some guys that, like I said, for tournaments, Deshaun Jackson is my favorite play coming back. Again, another guys we can look at, you know, to get a little different. Maybe want to look at the tight end and look at Richard Rodgers here. Maybe he gets a ton of looks. You know, he's worth a look. I think he had 3 targets. You know, Shepard is worth a look too. If he comes back, you know, they did activate him off the IR. If he comes back, he'd be interesting. People don't like to play guys that are coming off of injury. So, you know, guys like Jackson, guys like Shepard, and maybe throw Shepard up there, come back, run it with Jones, Wentz, Scott. Still leaves you around $5K per player. So even if we want to come down here and throw a kicker in again, we got 6,300. Kind of leaves us in no man's land, but look at that. We got Deshaun Jackson right there on the other side that can bring it back. And if both those receivers go off and are you know, relatively low owned, I don't think they will be with that price. I think Jackson will probably be one of the higher guys if he does play at that price, just because of what he can do. And don't be afraid to play defenses in this. We got 2 offenses that turn the ball over. Again, like I was saying with that injury for Philly, you know, the Giants can get after him a little bit. It's going to be an ugly game, man, but someone has to win this. It's should be fun for DFS wise because you can kind of do anything you want. Like I said, FanDuel, you know, don't be afraid to leave a ton of salary on the table. And on DraftKings, with how ugly it is, and there's no clear-cut captain, there's a lot of guys I would play up there. It's generally I like to keep my lineups when I build it like maybe 2 to 3 captains. and just go really heavy on those guys. But here I could see so many ways to go, so it should make it more interesting on DraftKings. If I was going to play at 150 lineups, it'd be on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I would leave it to like 50 at most, just because I think there's only so many ways that thing can go. And I really want the quarterbacks up there at MVP. I might just split them 25-25 each. It just feels like there's going to be a big chunk of lineups that are going to share the money there. So this is how I kind of see it. Again, go over to DFS Army if you're not a member. Josh will have his cheat sheets up. There'll be other videos that they'll do as well. I just wanted to kind of do a quick video as I was looking at the news and updating projections today. And then we'll have ownership out here a little bit later today and kind of see where ownership is as I run it. But again, some of the cool tools that we have, this research lab is fantastic for finding things like this. For rushing, we not only do we have it for rushing, if you want to see trends and targets, we come down here and look at the Giants, and then we want to look at, say, Slayton, and we want to compare three of them: Ingram, Slayton. So let's look at those two. You can kind of see where the targets went off. Slayton was at 7 and had 11 targets in week 5, and then fell down to 4 in week 6. And you can also see the percentage snaps they play. So these are really cool tools that you're able to get with your DFS Army VIP membership. So head on over there, sign up. I'll be in chat answering any questions. We have plenty of information. We're always designing new tools. And this one's really neat that you can see. And I really like to use this in conjunction with our spreadsheet here that kind of gives it all in one. And once we get ownership, it'll pop up. But fantastic tool that we add. We want to keep pushing the envelope over at DFS Army. So head on over there, sign up. And I appreciate you guys as always. Hope to see you at the top of leaderboards. Deuces.